Welcome, kiddies, to another episode of Attic Raiders Retro Reviews. In today's spine-tingling show, just in time for Halloween, we're going to be looking at the game Skworms. Skworms was released by Parker Brothers in 1996. This particular version came out in Canada. I don't know if they all did, but it's definitely not an easy game to find here in the UK. Just look at that artwork though. It's gorgeous, boys and ghouls. That skeleton looks like something straight out of Goosebumps. He's absolutely loving those squirms wriggling and squirming all through his body. The font is lovely and those colors, I just love it. Doesn't show us much about the actual game though. For that, we need to turn it over and take a look at the back. You can see from the pictures on the back that Skworms doesn't actually have a board, but you can begin to see just how big and impressive this game is. Those boys are certainly enjoying it. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl up. Can you be the first to get all your squirmy worms up the skeleton's bones and into his skull? Spin and stick in a squiggly worm. Now crank and make the worm squirm to the top. Careful, if it squishes out through the teeth, you keep it. Spin again. You could pull out a worm and give it away, or hang one somewhere safe, like the hole in his head. Spin the brain. Hey, now you got a brain. It's Skworms, the totally ghoul worm crawling race game. In order to take a closer look at the game, I'm now gonna hand you over to a meat bag.
Thanks for that, Boney. Well, as you can see, there is no board, but the game itself sets up like this. And look at the size of this thing. This thing takes up pretty much the whole of the table, and it just really looks great fun. Look at the colors on this. I absolutely love that they've gone with purple on here. We've got the skeleton and he's bursting out of this shuttered window. We've got the shutters on either side here, and the glass frame has got some smashed pieces in here where he's broken out through that. Now this game piece has 19 different bits that you need to put together in order to build it, and to get it back in the box you've got to take it all apart. So it takes a little while to build it, but it really is worth it. It looks great once it's built up. There are no playing pieces, there are no die, but there are lots and lots of squishy, squirmy squirms. These guys don't really have very much detail on them at all. They are basically rubbery tubes there. There's no detail on the head of these squirms, and it's just kind of like this, but they are really great, and I love the colors on these. The object of the game is to get rid of all your squirms, and they have got to squirm up through the skeleton's body and into his head. The game comes with 16 squiggly squirms, and these get divided up between the players at the beginning of the game. This is a 2 to 4 player game, so if you've got 2 players, each person gets 5 worms. If you've got 3 or 4 players, each person gets 4 worms. All the other worms that aren't divided up, they have to get put into the skull at the start of the game. As well as the worms, there's also this purple brain, and this needs to go to the oldest player. That's not a good thing, having this. We'll see more about that in a moment. There's no dice in this game, so instead we have a spinner. We're going to take a closer look at this now. On the spinner here, I really love the artwork round the edge of the worms, or squirms. The highlight and the shadows of them just gives them a really nice depth, makes them look really 3D, but the shadows on this kind of stonework here as well makes it really pop. Looks great. Obviously, being a spinner, you spin to select, and the things you can get, we've got crank 1 here, we've got give 1 to the person with the brain, we've got give or take the brain and then spin again, pull 1, crank 2, and hang 1. We'll take a look at what those actually mean. So if you spin hang 1, we need to take one of our worms and we need to hang it anywhere on the skull. Now probably in these holes is a good idea, and hanging them is quite good because that means you completely got rid of that worm and it's never coming back to you. What is slightly problematic about this is, I don't know if it's just my copy or if they're all like this, this skull piece, I would think it's meant to be up like this, but it keeps tipping forward with the weight of the worms in it. And sometimes, if there's enough worms in there, this whole skull piece will just pop out and spill worms everywhere. I don't know if it's meant to do that, but it's certainly one way, an exploding skull, of giving the player much more worms that they're going to have to take and then have to get rid of. As well as hanging worms, we can also spin and possibly land on pull 1. In that case, we have to pull one of the worms out. And this is rather tricky because, as I said, that whole skull might fall off. And if the whole skull falls off, you're going to end up with all of those, like that. You're going to end up with all of those worms rather than just one. Let's see if we can fix it. Another section that we might spin is give or take the brain and then spin again. Now this means that if you are somebody who already has the purple brain, you can give that away. So that is a good move for you. Unfortunately, if you're somebody who doesn't already have the purple brain, it means you have to take the purple brain, and you now have that until somebody else spins this. Or unless you spin it, in which case you can give it away. The reason you don't want the purple brain is because if anybody else lands on this section, let's give 1, then they have got to give one of their worms to the person who has the purple brain. So that means whoever's got the purple brain is going to start ending up with lots more worms, and they don't want that because they're trying to get rid of all of them. Of course, the most interesting bits on this game is this one here. We've got crank 1, or this section here where we've got crank 2. And with those, it means you get to get rid of some of your worms by cranking them up here and trying to get them into the skull. I'm going to imagine that I've just rolled a crank 1. So in order to do this, I have to take my squirm head first. That goes down at the bottom of the window here, and I'm going to use this handle, feed the squirm into the window, pulling the handle till it gets caught, and then I need to rotate it up, and you can see the swarm squirms up through the skeleton's body. And I keep doing that until it disappears up into the head. Now, with this one, what might happen when it goes up into the head is it might end up going down into the mouth section like this one has here, and in that case it might fall back out again and I'd have to take it back out, or it might just stay there, and when somebody else's go, if it falls out, they're going to have to take it. It can also move up into this brain section here, and if it's in this section, then that's pretty much it's safe. That's where you want it to be, and it's not going to come back to you. Except if you have a game that does not have a good connection on the skull, like mine, this skull section might fall off and you might end up with it back and a lot more. But in theory, it should be safe there. And I'm lucky, it hasn't fallen out the mouth, so that's the end of my go. Somebody else might spin 2, in which case you have to put 2 in here, so let's get 2 squirms in here on the go. Have to put them so that they're getting caught in the rollers. There we go. And now those squirms are going to squirm up through the body. Let's see if I can get rid of them. was close. It nearly came back out of the glass then. And if it comes back out through the holes in the glass, you have to keep it. And it's up into the skull. Oh, and they're safe. It nearly fell out, but it didn't. I'm safe there. Let's try another 2 squirms in there. Let's just see what happens this time. Spinning squirms, those squirms, they're going up through the body. Oh, I'm hoping that one's not going to come out the mouth. Oh, it's close to coming out through the window. But it didn't. Oh, that's good. And oh no, those are gone. But oh no, that is, my head's fallen off and I've ended up with all of those worms. That one I'm going to say I'm not taking. But those ones that were inside the head, they've now fallen out and I've got them, as well as the one that fell out the mouth naturally. Okay, for demonstration purposes, let's just go nuts and put in loads of squirms. There'd only be 2 at the most at any time in a game, but let's see if we can just get lots of them going at the same time. There's one in there. Get them in. That head looks like it's about to fall off rather soon again. Oh, that one's still staying there. Oh, they're not getting caught. Oh, that nearly came out. Oh, they're going. They're squirming. Oh, and that one, I would have to have that one back again. They're squirming, they're going up there. And the head's falling off again! More worms, more worms. Get those worms in there. Come on, get in there. Let's get some more. Oh, sometimes they're very close to coming out, but they don't. And other times, they do. Oh, where's it going? Oh, no! They're all over the place. You can see this is one of the problems here, is that sometimes this worms, they might get caught, and if they get caught, then it might end up getting pulled down the back of the system, where you really don't want them. If they do get pulled down the back of the system, it is possible to get them back though. That's it gone. But there is a hole here in the bottom, so any worms that go through can come out here and you can get them and they're not lost forever. Well, I've had a bit of a play about with it and I've managed to figure out how to actually get this skull to go in place. It wasn't particularly easy, but this skull is definitely not supposed to come out and move, but now it is securely in place. Kind of have to push it in really quite far and then try and pull it sideways here and pull it this way as well in order to engage those tabs properly. It's obviously not a design element of the game, but thankfully it's now in place. I suppose if you wanted to make this game harder, you could just attach that not so well, and if the head fell off, then you would have to take all those worms. That would certainly add an interesting element to the game, but it's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be like this, nice and secure, and those worms, that head is now not going to fall off no matter what I do here, and it's just gonna fill up with worms.
So there you have it, creeps. A fun and silly game for boils and ghouls aged 6 and up. It takes a while to set up the pieces at the start, but the ghouls are easy to learn, and who doesn't love a game about decomposing corpses? So for a frightfully good time this Halloween, scare up some friends to play with. Anybody will do. Until next time, this is Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.